friends. I hope you're having a good day. So I am so excited today to share with you my favorite recipe of cheesecake. I got this recipe when I was in my early 20s working at my first job. I was a chemical engineer at the time, which I'm not anymore. But my boss, he had a large family and they always made this like every other week. And it is delicious and it is simple and it is easy to do. So I'm going to show you how I make this cheesecake today. All right, so there's two parts to this. There's the cheesecake portion, so the filling, and there's the crumb crust. So the first thing we're gonna do is turn the oven on to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm gonna do that. The oven's right behind me here. I'm gonna go ahead and set that up. All right, step one complete. So I wanna make sure that you guys do this because this can ruin a cheesecake. So you will need 1.5 packages of cream cheese, and you do not want to just take it out of the fridge and make it immediately. You wanna put this out on the counter a couple hours before. I usually even take them out of the box. Today I didn't, but it should be really pliable. The package should be really squishy to know that you've gotten it to room temperature. But if you're in a time bind, what I would do would be to take both of these packages, fill a bowl of warm water, and just soak these in there. And that can actually help the process along if you're in a time crunch. So I'm just gonna put these down because I'm gonna actually start with the crust. So let me tell you what you're gonna need for all of these things. I'm gonna go through the ingredients that you're gonna need, and I'm gonna go through the tools that you're gonna need. So the ingredients you're gonna need are, like I said, cream cheese. You're gonna need some eggs, brown sugar, granulated sugar, some kind of pie topping. I have strawberry. I also very much like cherry on cheesecakes. You're going to need vanilla, a pie plate, and this is something I like to do. This is optional. I either use this whipped topping in a can, or I use the Cool Whip that's in the freezer, so the frozen whipped topping, one of those two. I like to add that to the filling. It just makes it extra creamy. And I think that's it. Oh, you're gonna need butter. So let me grab the butter. The butter, and I forgot this step, but the butter is also good to have room temperature, so I might have to heat this butter up a little bit to get the process going. Oh, I forgot one ingredient that's the most important. You are either going to need graham crackers. I get the cinnamon flavored, but if you don't like doing it the way I'm gonna show you today, which is I actually blend up the graham crackers. Oh, my oven's ready. The other option is to use graham cracker crumbs. Personally, I don't like using these because they're not as good as the regular graham crackers. So I'm gonna make this recipe today blending up the graham crackers, but this is always an option if you don't have any. All right, so I think we're ready to get started. I am going to start by preparing the crumb crust. So here are the measurements that you will need. We are going to start with 1.5 cups of graham cracker crumbs, 1/3 cup of packed brown sugar, and 1/3 cup of melted butter. So I'm gonna work on doing that right now. What's nice about these, and I've kind of tried over the years to figure out the right measurements, you just need one package from a graham cracker box. You don't even have to measure anything. And I'm gonna use this blender here. All right, and I'm just gonna blend these up. On this blender, there's a crush ice one. I usually like to pulse it. I'm gonna turn this on, and I'm just gonna pulse, and I'm gonna crush these. And that's it. So you need a mixing bowl to mix the crumb crust in. I'm just gonna pour this right in here. All right, and I'm gonna use 1/3 cup of packed brown sugar. Brown sugar is always so weird. This one's a little hard. Hopefully it'll be all right. So you wanna pack it in the measuring cup. So that's kind of like that. Dump that in there. And now we need butter. This needs to be melted. So I'm gonna get a little bowl. So 1/3 cup is 5 1/3 tablespoons. So I'm just gonna put this in this little bowl, microwave it for about 20 to 30 seconds. Pixel came up to see what's going on in here. What are we making? All right, so I'm gonna take this butter. It's not completely melted. There's still a few chunks in there. I'm gonna pour this in this bowl here, and I'm gonna take this, so you can see in there, I'm gonna take this and just mix it up. Sometimes a spoon doesn't work that well, so sometimes you have to get out a fork to get this really mixed up. And this is what it's looking like right now. Just gonna mix this up. And don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. You're gonna have to get your hands on this, so wash your hands obviously beforehand. But if there seems to be some chunks in there that won't get mixed up, just use your hands. And when you're done, the consistency should be like this. Okay, so I'm ready to press this to my pan, but the first thing to do is to butter the pan. So what I do is I just take a chunk of butter like this, and of course if you can't have butter and you're sensitive to milk, I think this entire dish is gonna be out for you. There are some soy-based cream cheeses out there that I have not tried this recipe on, and of course you could use margarine instead. I always think of that because I have several family members, including my mom, that are allergic to milk, and she can never eat my cheesecake. So see, I'm just really doing a nice coating on the pan, and it looks like that when I'm done. So now we're gonna take crumbs, and this is where you're gonna have to use your hands. So I'm just spreading this around, and you kind of have to make sure that it's evenly distributed, but you want it to be pressed down firmly so that the crumb crust doesn't fall apart when you're eating it. Honestly, this crumb crust is good for any kind of cold pie. I love chocolate cream pie. It's good for any kind of pie, really, as long as you have a filling. You could even just put pie filling in this. And this is really not about perfection because this is a rustic pie when we're done with it. I wouldn't consider myself a great cook, but I do like to bake sometimes. I do like to cook sometimes too. My husband's mainly the main cook in our house. I'm like the sous chef. All right, so I think that's ready to go. So pretty much once we're done, we can just set this aside. And now I'm ready to make the filling. So I've got this mixer here. You don't need a big mixer like this. If you have a handheld mixer, that works just fine. So I need 1.5 packages of this. So I'm gonna take my knife here and just cut this package in half. I need a better knife. Okay, there's one. And there's a half. All right, so we need to add 2 eggs to this. And we need 1/2 cup of sugar. We need 1/2 tablespoon of vanilla. And that's it. We need to mix this a lot. So I'm gonna start at low speed, and then once it's pretty smooth, I'm gonna go to high speed for a while. And this is an important part. If your cream cheese is room temperature, it should be perfectly smooth with no lumps. I've had some major fails with this recipe. When I first started making this recipe, I didn't realize that the cream cheese being cold was such a big deal, but it ends up being very lumpy. All right, here goes. Okay, now it's smooth. This is where I add my little special ingredient, which is a little bit of whipped topping. So I'm gonna spray this in here. But if you have frozen whipped topping, this would be the time to put that in there. A big spoon, a couple big spoonfuls of it. Okay, we are ready to transfer this into our crumb crust. And then we take this spatula and just kind of spread it around. Whoops, I tasted some. That's gonna be good. All right, now I'm going to bake this for 35 minutes in the oven. And once that's out of the oven, we're gonna cool it, and then we're gonna top it with some topping. Okay, I think it's time to check the cheesecake. So I'm gonna check this, and it's looking a little brownish on top, which is good. So I wanna check to see if it's set. Here goes. So the best thing to do is to use a toothpick, but for some reason I can't find any. So I'm gonna just take this knife. I feel like it needs just a couple more minutes because the knife is just slightly wet looking. All right, coming out of the oven for the second time. And I've got this on a wire rack. I'm gonna let this cool for about 30 minutes until it's not hot to the touch. Now I'm going to pop this into the refrigerator, and we'll top it next once it's cooled off. All right, so I refrigerated this pie overnight, and I'm going to add some strawberry topping to it. This is just strawberry from Lucky Leaf. Sorry for the dog sounds. We've got Cappy here, which is my daughter's dog. Cappy, look at the camera. And we're gonna have a Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow. So I'm just spreading this over the top. And all we get to do now is enjoy. So thanks for watching, you guys, and I hope you guys had a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye!